But, like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk. I'm down to dunk. This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk. I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
Will you say this is Lou Dort and I'm down to Dort?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No.
No. Okay.
But it's healthy.
Are you a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
Do you have a gallon of milk I can also take home?
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch. Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Mondays, is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Well, it's good to be back on Mondays.
I know.
It's been a while.
It has been like a long while.
Yeah, it's like
It was
2
like
weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks that we didn't. So it's been 3 weeks
Yes.
since we've had like a true Monday pod. So it's good to be back. And we got a little bit of news today. I kind of joked on Twitter this morning that how much did the Boston Celtics pay Carmelo Anthony to retire today? Because all the talk would just only be centered on the Celtics. The Celtics are definitely not getting a free pass here. However, Carmelo Anthony was he announced today on Twitter that he's retiring, and so huge congrats to Melo on just a stellar career. Absolutely outrageously great career. And part of it, a very small sliver, if you looked at the Carmelo Anthony pie chart of where he spent his career, you see this little tiny blue sliver that says OKC on it. And boy, was it such an exciting time to be a Thunder fan that summer. I won't talk about the whole time. The whole time was not the most exciting time to be a Thunder fan, but that summer in particular, starting with the Bill Simmons tweet where he wrote on Twitter on July 24th, 2017. I believe I was in Missouri when I saw this tweet. I remember exactly where I was, and it's he typed probably on his little iPhone 7 or whatever it was. I have a scoop. OKC and Carmelo are officially circling each other. OKC's Troy Weaver recruited Melo to Cuse, plus has known him since DMV days. So that was kind of the first sign of wow. And I remember in the past, Jay had always talked about Melo being a target, like a trade target, and I was always very adamant because he had a no trade clause in that giant contract that he signed with the Knicks. Just that man never waive his no trade clause to come to OKC. It'll never happen.
I said it many times in podcasts. It would be very nice. Who cares about the defense? But I will never sign up for this.
Yeah, it just felt like a fantasy land.
Yeah.
And then when Simmons tweeted that, it was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is really a thing that could happen. And then they make the trade. And this was coming on the heels of the Paul George trade, where it was just that felt like such a victory itself.
Yeah.
And this was just like, are you serious? This is really going to happen? And it ended up happening right before training camp. So that's from the OKC and Melo are circling each other. It took a little while for them to actually get the trade done because the trade happened just the day before training camp, to the point where I remember texting Royce or Fred and them is Melo actually going to be at media day? And I was like, yeah, he's going to be there. And I remember walking down the hallways of media day and first seeing the trio of Westbrook,
Yeah.
PG and Melo walking down the hallway in Thunder jerseys together in the back hallways of what was then the Chesapeake Energy Arena, and just be like, wow. Like the star power that those three held was unreal. It just felt like a dream. It just didn't feel real. I remember I was the first time I ever met Sam Amick was he was coming through town. You know, like big names came to OKC for media day. Where it's like the past few years, it's been like, man, can we get enough OKC media at media day? And then it was just like, man, people are flying from everywhere. It was such a big deal. What memories do you have of like the acquisition or that summer or just anything before we get to like some of the actual media day stuff?
Well, I mean, we will get to that. But the reason behind his coming to OKC, like he said, well, it's basically my son. I said, right. This is very weird. I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it was like, hey, at a certain point, I was talking with my son, and he said, okay, you will fit great there.
Yeah.
And that was really funny. Like it's okay, maybe as a I don't know how old his kid was at the time, but hey, that was a nice moment in terms of like being excited for it. It looked real, like it looked that team could have a real chance.
Yeah.
And we will talk about how it looked for maybe a month and a half. But then that look started to exist. So I remember back in the days we said, okay, if Billy could work with a guy like Kenner as your offensive, no defense kind of guy, can you imagine how can he play with a guy that can actually shoot the three ball well? And is like a guy that defenses will care about.
Yeah.
And it was like just and when it worked, it was beautiful.
Oh,
There were
it's great.
moments
Yeah.
where you say, okay, now this team knows how to play together, and it is really working. It didn't last long, but that team was there. Circumstances and whatnot made it difficult to just express the full power of it. But the idea was, hey, let's have three guys that can just have so much gravity that even still will have to adjust. And again, it was also a moment where you could actually see a team like being aggressive with the trade, being aggressive in the market. Like, who cares about the tax? Who cares about anything else? We have to win now.
Yep.
And hey, in another universe, maybe with Ray being healthy, this is a completely different story.
It definitely could have been, which also feels a little bit like, were they really ever going to really do anything? Because if the difference was Andre Robertson holding all of this together, and then at the end of the season, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like Corey Brewer got hurt, and it was, is Corey Brewer really? We cannot win without Corey Brewer. You know, that was rough. He was so interesting. Okay, so let's go to media day. We're gonna bookend this with two Melo videos. The first one is from media day, the first time that we got to see Melo in a Thunder jersey. He is fully hooded in this clip. Shouts to Eric Horn, who is now he's an editor now, but Eric Horn was kind of like the Melo guy, like the Melo whisperer of these questions, because both questions came from Eric, who I randomly saw at Disney World. Did I tell you that story?
No.
We were in Star Wars. I don't even know if you call it Star Wars Land or whatever. Walking through Star Wars Land with my kids, my family last January, and just walking through, and just out of the blue, somebody grabs me by the shoulder, and it's Eric Horn. I'm like, Eric Horn, what are you doing here at Disney World? Okay. Anyways,
I miss Eric. It's been too much. I need to text him and see.
I know.
How life is going.
I know. I thought about when Melo sent out that tweet. I thought about messaging him and seeing if he'd come on. I still might do that, just because he'll have some good Melo stories.
Yeah.
Anyways, here is Carmelo Anthony being asked if he'd be willing to come off the bench.
Feel about starting at the four, or the concept of starting at the four, or even coming off the bench. And the second question is,
Who, me?
I guess that answers that part.
I mean, I don't know where that started, where that came from. Hey, P, they said I got to come off the bench.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So good. It's so good. I was sitting in that room when that happened, and it just felt, I mean, it was such a big moment. It's something that I think Thunder fans will always remember. It's something that people will talk about about Melo in the coming days when people are kind of looking at his career. It was that was like the canary in the coal mine of like, this is the beginning of the end for Carmelo Anthony, everybody. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
And it's him being unwilling to even, like, just couldn't even grapple with the fact that maybe he needed to come off the bench in order to be a successful player. And he eventually did, but it took him being traded. It took him, because, I mean, he played a bench role for the Lakers last year.
Yeah.
It took him a long time, and it was almost too late. Because
It was definitely too late.
If you would have come off the bench for that Thunder team and was just like willing to play whatever and let Jeremy Grant be the starter, when people forget how loaded that team was with talent, with Westbrook, Paul George, Jeremy Grant, Melo, Steven Adams. I mean, that was a real team.
It was.
That was a real team. Ray Felton, Thick Daddy Ray
Terrence
Felton.
Ferguson. Sorry.
T. Ferg.
Josh Eustace.
Andre Robertson. I didn't mention Robertson. Like that was
Kyle
a real
Singler.
That was a real squad. I mean, right now the Blazers are sitting back and would so like fantasize about having just a few of the players that were on that team on their team with Lillard. I mean, they're doing it now. We did a podcast on Saturday for the Athletic NBA show where it's like, man, if they could get Paul George and Jeremy Grant on the same team, that would just be unbelievable. The Thunder had Paul George and Jeremy Grant on the same team years ago, and Jeremy wasn't as good, but Paul was better. You know, it was
Paul was definitely better.
Yeah.
Not sure if Russ was better than Dame. I don't know.
I mean, you know, not last year's Dame. Dame was ridiculous.
I was thinking about last year. I mean, coming into the season, Russ was just out of his MVP campaign.
Yeah.
And that was the main part of the deal. That team was so inefficient in offense, and a lot of that was Russ just I don't know, losing everything in terms of efficiency, free throws and layups and mid-range jumpers. Yes, it was also about Carmelo being Carmelo, but it was also like OKC being inefficient, and with PG being excellent, like third in the MVP voting.
Third in the MVP voting. That's what he was. So the highest of highs for that team was probably right before that Detroit game where Robertson got hurt. They were really rolling, and they're rolling in that Pistons game itself. But like the peak was a game at home against the Golden State Warriors where they just pummeled the Warriors with Durant. I mean, the starting lineup for that Golden State Warriors team: Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, Zaza Pachulia, with Andre Iguodala coming off the bench. They still had Sean Livingston. They had Kevon Looney, David West. I mean, they had some real players. Nick Young was on that team. I forget Nick Young was on that team. And the Thunder just absolutely destroyed them. It was Paul George going off for 20. It was Steven Adams with 14 and 12. Westbrook had 34, 10 and 9. Melo had 22 and 5. Andre played great defense in 32 minutes. Didn't get a ton off the bench, but you didn't need it because those three were just packed so much punch, and they just killed them. And I remember that was the year that we started the OKC Dream Team, and we took this stupid picture after the game because we were so excited about the win. Like, we were potting together on one mic back in the media room, me and Royce and Fred and Ham. There was like it was such a fun season in some ways, and it was actually the fun debate began that season, but in some ways it was just so miserable. And you know, you look at that game against the Warriors that they won, you're like, man, that was a great win. Then they go and lose to Detroit. They get killed by the Mavs. They only score like 80 points against the Mavs, and then they get killed by Orlando. And then you look up and it's just the middle of December and they lose to the Knicks, who they had just made this big trade with. They got killed by the Knicks and they're 14 and 15
Yeah.
at that point. And you're just like, oh my gosh, what have they done? Then that's when they ripped off a ton. They ended up being 22 and 17 by January. But
Yeah.
then things just never got great. I guess so. Like hold on.
They also had a great game in Cleveland.
Yes, they did. No, okay, so I'm wrong. So they had another big stretch of games where they ripped off a ton. And then really right before the All-Star break is when things fell apart.
Yeah, after Dre.
Yeah, so Andre Robertson went down January 27th against Detroit.
Yeah.
They still went on to beat Detroit by a lot. They beat Philly the next night.
Yeah.
By a good margin. I remember that. That was like young Ben Simmons, young Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I think Pat Patterson had to close the game because Steven Adams fouled out. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I vaguely remember that. I remember that was a very exciting and hopeful game. Like we were okay, maybe we can do it without Ray, and then oh no, we
it's
cannot.
not good. Anyways, didn't work out. They ended up losing in round 1 to rookie Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz, which was such a miserable experience. And then Paul George became a free agent, all that stuff. But then kind of bookended by after they lost to the Jazz, exit interviews the next day. This was, again, Eric Horn. I cut the part where Eric's talking, but Eric Horn asked him just about sacrificing next year, sticking around, coming back, running it back, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then would you be willing to come off the bench next year? Which is just Eric which it feels like he's constantly asking him if he come off the bench. He really did it just twice. But here's his answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not sacrificing no bench role, so that's out the question.
I was sitting by Fred Katz during this, and I remember just so vividly me looking over at Fred after Melo was done talking and just like, oh my God, I cannot believe this just happened in this room. Because like now, I mean, we're in like the glory days of like there's no drama, no nothing, everything's great, everybody's bebopping around, and Melo came in and it was like somber. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not coming off the bench. He's just like, I'm not sacrificing.
Yeah, which also meant, hey, I'm not coming back.
I'm not coming back.
This is not the place for me. And I remember like Paul George being adamant, hey, someone needs to understand what is going on. Like it was a moment where you could see that there was disconnect between Melo and the rest of the team to a certain degree. I mean, he had a terrible ending of the season. Melo did. Like I remember my only two games at the peak. It was against Sporting, against Miami. I mean, he was horrible.
So bad.
And he had like 5 open threes against I think Miami and missed them all, or Portland and missed them all. It was not a great end of the season for him. He played a ton. He played way too much. That was also part of if you go back, like, why do you want to play a 33, 34-year-old guy more than 32 minutes average per night? That is not going to work.
It's so crazy. What a crazy season. And, Melo did not include the Thunder in his little video that he put out today, which is not surprising. Because it was the beginning of the end for him.
Did he put Houston on the video? Please tell me yes.
I honestly was just watching to see if he had let us know in the chat if he had Houston. I don't know that he did. That was also a miserable time. It was more miserable than OKC just because it was done so quickly. But I just want to highlight what a big deal it felt like, though, to have Melo willingly come to Oklahoma City. It felt like a turning point for the franchise to a degree, and things just didn't go their way that year. I mean, they had the talent of like a top 3. Okay, yeah, Jalen Williams, a different spelling of Jalen Williams in the chat says no Houston, but LA and Portland were on there. Yeah, which makes sense. Like he's cutting out all the bad memories.
Yeah.
Of his career, which makes sense. But
hey, you're right. I mean, it gave OKC a little bit of, at least for the first few weeks of the season, it was a breath of fresh air. I mean, we can stand again without KD. That was the main discussion. Like the main reason why Melo was so important for OKC is because hey, KD left, but Carmelo came, and now we have a second version of OKC that can actually work.
yeah, we had a big 3. We had a big 3 again, and boy, it's so funny. And the fact that Presti flipped Melo for Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah,
I mean
that was unbelievable.
That's great work. That was great work by Sam to like save that. And that was the thing, is like a lot of people were like, well, they should just waive him. You know?
Yeah, that
remember that? Remember?
Oh yeah, I do.
Sam is so good at just continuing to bring on to keep that asset alive, because they couldn't have just filled it with a player. They would have. I mean, they didn't have the cap space to bring in a player like that, and so they had to like continue it somehow. They brought in Schroeder, who played well for them that year, not great, but well enough. And then the following year with that Chris Paul team, Schroeder was awesome.
It was awesome. He netted them a late first.
Yeah, he did, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason why you don't use necessarily a provision to just wave and stretch or whatever. If you have other options, I mean, you can downgrade the talent a little bit and try to recoup some value while doing so. I don't know, having a player there. It's look at Kevin Love. Like, I'm not saying that Cleveland should have absolutely do everything to keep Kevin Love, but it's when you have former All-Stars or very good players, like giving it a try. Like $9 million on your dead cap is worth basically nothing for a team. Yes, you may lower your tax payment for a year, but yeah, it's nice that OKC tried to keep it rolling, and again, Dennis was very good. I mean, he had an up and down career after OKC, but it was not bad this year for the Lakers.
No, he's been good for them. Yeah. No, he's been good for them. Yeah, that trade, the Schroeder trade, actually netted them the 28th pick in the draft, which ended up being Jaden McDaniels. So
yeah,
they traded it.
Can you imagine if they keep that pick?
I mean, it'd be pretty nice to have Jaden McDaniels on the team.
Not sure he's a quote unquote Thunder guy. But hey, there was already a Thunder guy that punched something and broke his wrist/hand. So maybe
that's true.
He could have been.
True. That's true. Also, like players
that it also happened that season. No, the season before.
Season before, yeah.
Desmond
Bane, because they didn't have Canada that year.
Yeah. Sure. It was traded for Melo.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Anything else on Melo? Big shouts to Melo. Great career. Really hilarious blip on his little radar to stop here in OKC.
Do you remember that play call where Melo like did the hawk or whatever, and it was like a very like predictable stuff that ended up either with Russ driving at the rim, but it was like Andrea screening for Melo and then something. It was very weird to see them calling this hawk scheme. It was this guy like flapping his wings, and it was very weird. But anyway,
hawk.
I don't remember if it was hawk or something else.
Yeah, I don't remember that super well, to be honest.
You don't remember? Like Carmelo like flopping his wings?
No.
What that was? Did I imagine? Please in the chat, did I dream about it?
I don't.
It was a play call just living in my head.
If you did.
I remember that. I think I remember that.
Wow. Shout out to Melo. Okay. Let's take a
Okay,
quick
nobody
break.
is answering to my question, so I probably imagined it. Okay, that's great. I'm getting mad, old and mad.
Let's
Nice.
take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the lottery on the other side. And we're back after that quick break. Luis says that he remembers that.
Okay, we are either both mad or crazy, or it actually happened. I'll check for videos.
No, I trust you. So we haven't had a chance to talk about the lottery yet. It happened last week, and it went fine for the Thunder because it just was going to be this. This is like the odds of them jumping up were so low.
Yeah. Was it 85.7% to get the 12th pick and like 3 or 4 to trade down and to be down, or like 10% to be up?
Yeah. So it's good that they at least didn't fall. They're going to pick 12. Also, I don't even think we got a chance to talk about this at all yet, but just the fact that it worked out the way that it did. It was the kind of like Tankathon spin that I would spin and look at it and be like, I can absolutely live with these results. In fact, I like these results. I like them, and I would love for this to be the way that it turns out because, like, I can live with them. I would rather Wemby be in the Eastern Conference. He's in San Antonio, whatever. It felt like a foregone conclusion, anyways. Charlotte being at 2 is the biggest, like, whatever. Like, they're going to whatever they do with that pick, it is not going to impact the NBA because I just don't believe in that franchise, that team. It's a big who cares. And then Portland is going to trade the pick, which is so dumb, but they're probably going to do it.
I think that they should do a trade. I'm not sure I would trade the 3rd pick in this draft, especially if somehow Scoot is there.
I think it's going to happen. I think Mitch Kupchak has already laid the groundwork for them to take,
which is very weird. Like, I know that
this is why I don't care about Charlotte getting the 2nd pick, is because they're going to screw it up.
You should care. You should absolutely care because it's really fun to make fun of them.
Yeah.
So
it's insane. There's
if they might be right in saying, okay, our evaluation between Scoot Anderson and Miller or Ammon Thompson is very close, and so we get with the player who we think fits best, if we think that they are at the same level talent-wise. I'm not sure I buy that, but I'm very bad at evaluating playmakers. I was very fond of a lot of guys that struggled / result to nothing in the NBA. So I don't know. Maybe Kupchak sees something in Miller that is. Miller can be the 2nd best player in this draft.
Yeah, sure.
I would not pick him to be because I like what Scoot Anderson brings. But hey, Jalen sucks.
Yeah,
I loved him. He didn't have a shot.
Yeah.
He struggled to play against certain types of pick and roll defense. We said, oh, well, okay, but he has this mid-range jumper and he's a dog and he makes winning plays. And you can say the same for Scoot. I know that these are not the same players.
Yeah.
The passing and the way in which Scoot moves are very different from Suggs.
Yeah.
But also, we love Suggs. So who knows?
Still not out on Suggs, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Still not out on Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, but it's hard to see him as an all-NBA kind of guy. He can be a borderline starter / maybe a little bit better than an average starter.
Yeah.
That train is still there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Portland. I mean, I would absolutely test waters for both trading the 3rd pick and trading Dame. And just saying, okay, let's trade Dame and Simons. And
I just don't think it's so binary. Here's the thing: like, you're wanting to upgrade your talent. They want to upgrade their talent. There's been a lot of guys that have come into the league ready to play right away.
Yeah.
And so why do you have to do this? Like, I know Pascal Siakam would be great, but what if things don't go well? He's got a year left.
Oh, I'm not saying you're
fond
of these trades.
I'm not saying you're advocating for that. But I'm just saying, like, the kind of trades that are out there that are available to them that they're probably going to do, even if it's Mikal Bridges, which I think is probably the most likely option. Mikal Bridges is a really good player.
Oh, I would not do that.
But look at what the Suns the Suns had him
Mhm.
and Cam Johnson and Booker and Ayton and Chris Paul, and the Blazers don't have anything close to that, anything resembling that at all.
Yeah.
And still, the Suns looked at themselves and said, "We don't have enough." And they went and traded a couple of those pieces for Durant, including Bridges. Why in the world would trading the third pick for Bridges and like then you basically, because it's going to have to include Simons as well. So you're trading away talent that you already have on the team,
Oh,
plus
no.
the number 3 overall pick for Mikal Bridges, who comes in. Like you're going to need to get more pieces than just Mikal Bridges. And then you're just praying that Jeremy Grant will resign. And then like your big 3 is Dame, Mikal Bridges, and Jeremy Grant. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's why I don't see that. I really don't buy that. Like if if Philadelphia for some reason wants to trade Embiid and you trade Simons, Nurkic, whatever, a way in I don't know if it exists. I didn't check the math on it, but you trade whatever to get Embiid for the number 3 pick and other assets, which will likely be 2 unprotected picks at least. But maybe
is Dame and Embiid enough? Because you're going to be filling the rest in with like minimum guys, maybe Jeremy Grant, third best player. Maybe in this
but
way,
it's Embiid.
fine.
It's Embiid. Like you try. If it's Embiid, you may want to say, okay.
Yeah. But
I
the Sixers are not doing that this summer. That's just not going to happen this summer. Just like flat out not happening this summer.
Yes, this is. I mean, you have more.
This is like
info
another
from me.
reason why. Like, I think I agree with you that if you really do want to keep it together and you have the chance to get the MVP of the league, great, sure, fine. But we're talking about, I think Bridges is the most likely guy.
And again, I would be very interested to just call the Sixers and say, hey, what do you offer for Dame?
Yeah.
Because that seems like the Sixers may do that trade. They can trade Maxey and I don't know, 3-4 for some picks.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually can because OKC has some of their future, and I have no recollection of how much they traded for Harden. It may not be even possible, but like this is why I think I would keep both options open, and if nothing that is over the value that you have in mind comes to fruition, then you just say to them, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
We just do one more time with Miller and stuff like that. Yeah. Daniele Zanoni says in the chat that there is no picks for Philly to trade. Well, okay, they may have swaps and stuff like that or rework some of the protection, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's a way. And then also, if you're Philly, you lose Harden, you swap Maxey for Dame, you try to trade Tobias. I mean, you're different, but like your talent level is definitely diminished by doing all those swaps, and your future is diminished because you're trading for a guy in his 30s. You know, trading Maxey for a guy in his 30s, where Maxey, who knows what Maxey could be? He's a really good player.
He is.
So it's just, I think both teams are kind of in this rough zone. If I'm the Blazers, I get you don't want to trade Dame, but man, he just had like the best season of his career, and still it was like, man, where are they going?
Exactly.
They're so far away. They're so far away from even being what they dream they could be. Like they just have so far away. And like, is Chauncey Billups a good coach? I mean, there's just a lot of questions to answer, and it does feel like they're going to trade the pick. And I don't think that a lot of people are like, can the Thunder get in on a 2 or 3 team trade? I don't think so. I don't think it makes sense because you'd have to provide some kind of like, hey, value today. Like, how can we buoy Dame today with somebody? And the Thunder either have a guy that they would just flat out laugh in their face, like they're not trading Shea for the third pick. They're not trading Shea, period.
No,
They're not
no.
trading Giddy for the third pick. They're not going to trade J-Dub for the third pick. You
And
know,
these are players that Portland will. I mean, it's not that different to draft a guy like Miller compared to having J-Dub or Giddy. Yes, they are more known commodities, but it's still hard to see them contributing to high level winning in year 2 and 3 of their careers. I mean, of course, if someone offers a lot for the third pick, and someone like Lou Dort calls the Thunder and say, "Hey guys, I'm out. I just want to go play with Dame." Said, "Oh, well, okay." Like I'm saying Dort because I mean we after the 3 players that we said we don't trade, even before Chet, I put Dort in there as the only guy that can provide likely value for a team like the Blazers.
yeah.
They would need him.
And
Or
Dame,
Kenrich, but you don't trade a pick for Kenrich.
yeah. I mean, the value of a player like Dort, where like the Thunder would be like, okay, we'd be willing to trade the pick, is probably at a level where the team that's trading the pick is like, why would we do that? And then
Yeah,
when
it's
it gets,
probably going to be a
like
good pick.
yeah, like if the Lakers called and said, hey, we'll give you the 17th pick for Dort, the Thunder would be like, what are you talking about? Like, no.
Yeah, I thought you were going with this. I said, oh, okay. I'm like
No,
lukewarm on this trade.
no.
Yeah,
But-
and it's impossible that the team comes to you and say, okay, we'll give you the 10th pick.
I was going to
for
say,
Dort.
that's actually a good example. Is like the Mavs call and say, hey, we'll give you pick 10 for Dort.
Hey, that's not far fetched. That might happen. What about
say
the
yes,
10th pick
like
for Lou Dort and known Mavs killer Isaiah Joe? What would you answer?
Dort and Joe for 10?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
I just don't believe in this draft as much as you do, I guess.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
So
I don't
Joe
think
has a high value for you, but
Joe
but
and Dort. I
Yeah.
think both those guys. I mean, if we're learning anything from this playoffs, is like guys that have the heart like Lou Dort matter. Like those guys matter. The way that those guys play matters.
Yeah.
And like giving up one of those guys for, I mean, maybe if it's like they take Case and Wallace, they're like, you know what, we just think that Case and Wallace brings the same kind of stuff that Lou does with a higher upside.
Which not in year 1, but anyway.
Yes, yeah, not in year 1. But the Thunder aren't. There's I don't think there's any preconceived notion that like next year is the year that things like we're back and we're in the playoffs and we're going to the second round. Like I just don't think that it's there yet. So I think that a like small step back in that way makes some sense, because I do think that implementing Jet with the offense and defense and everything's going to change. I think that a small step back like that makes a little bit of sense today for that reason. And Dort for the Mavs makes some sense. I think that he'd start right away for them and he'd play big minutes and he'd take the tougher defensive assignment for Luka, and he can do a little bit of everything, but efficiency wise, I'm not sure that I see. No.
Yeah, and the more I watch playoffs basketball, which this year I'm trying to do, if only the NBA app will allow me to watch games without self-spoiling them. Yeah, it's a bug. We're sorry. It's the conference finals. It's not a good time to send an update for the app. Like,
it's not.
Come on, do it in the off season. Everything was actually kind of maybe working. But anyway, if you look at the Heat, it's not that when Martin takes the three, you believe that goes in more than you do for Lou Dort. Gabe Vincent is a nice player, is a better shooter for sure. Strus is a better shooter for sure right now, but he wasn't like a couple of years ago.
Right.
So we've seen how valuable a guy like Lou Dort can be. And I really want to see him as the fifth best offensive option for a team.
Yeah.
Before we say anything, because if he's the 5th best option and he shots like 35.7% from three, I don't know why I was so specific. It's because I read it for Melo in OKC, but anyway, that was the only number I could think of. If he is that and he is not providing the value that we have in mind, then maybe in 1 or 2 years you say, okay, you have 1 year left. This is not really working. Before depressing your value too much, let's move you somewhere else where you can be a better version of yourself, and we will just take an asset for it. But it's really important that we see first the lineup with Shea, Giddy, J-Dub, Dort, and Chet, and then we see how it works.
Yeah. What if the Wizards called and said, "Hey, we'll give you 8 for Dort and Kenrich"?
And Kenrich?
Yeah.
Why did you have to put Kenrich there?
Because they need toughness. They need
pick one, not both.
They need role players. They need both. This is like the most Wizards trade ever, though. It reminds me of when they traded, was it pick 5 for who was it? Randy Foye and Mike Miller. Remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. That was a weird trade.
And that's the year that the Timberwolves had 2 shots to take Steph. And they took Rubio and they took Johnny Flynn.
Johnny Flynn, wow.
Yeah. But anyways, it feels like a very Wizardsy thing to do. Like the Wizards are still in the same place they were back then, where it's like, okay, we like the guys we got. We still just need to go for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that.
I'm not sure that that's something the Thunder would really even consider either, just because like culturally, both those guys mean so much to the team.
Yeah.
And that might seem stupid to like an outsider listening in, like, oh my gosh, of course they should do that. Because then like, and if they say you just get to keep 12, and there's like a situation where you get to bring in Anthony Black and Grady Dick. Let's say Grady Dick falls to 12. And it's Anthony Black and Grady Dick coming in as like 2 wings that kind of take their place, who have a little bit more size. Obviously, big time shooting upside with Grady Dick. Anthony Black is like this very versatile defender who can play the 2 for them. I can talk myself into it, certainly.
Yeah, but I mean, not both. I would probably do it if you just trade one of the 2 and then you give up other players, like other role players.
We'd probably have to for it.
Yeah.
I don't think Kenrich is like doing that much for somebody.
No. But if you keep Kenrich and somehow Shea is happy with the trade, or Lou asks for a trade, then I would do that, but maybe not with Kenrich as the other guy, because you really need.
What if it's what you said before? What if it's Lou and Joe?
I would actually think about it.
Lou and Joe and pick 37.
I would actually think about it.
Yeah. I think I might too. That's about the range where things start to get kind of interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, you have 12, you have 8. You basically reset your salary cap for a long while, and reset. You improve your salary cap position, and you have space to play a guy like Anthony Black. If Anthony Black is there at 8, which is not it's not a given, and someone in the Wizards propose a trade like that, I would actually think about it.
Yeah, I think the Thunder would have to give up more than that to make it happen.
I think that you have to give Dort 12 for 8.
I think so too. Would you?
And there, it's too much.
Yeah, I agree. That's like trades like these just fall apart, and you can't get. And it's so hard to make deals. Is that the teams at 8 are like, oh yeah, well you got to give us 12 and like something really good. And the Thunder are like, we actually like the guys that are at 12, and we really like Dort. Why would we give up both for something that we only marginally like better? Yeah. This is where things just kind of fall apart, and then you just take Kobe Buffkin at 12 and you just move on with your day,
Exactly. I mean, we said it, I think in one of the Dream Team shows, or Yeah, we're Buffkin boys.
I gotta reveal my Buffkin believer, the Buffkin boys status here.
Yeah, and I mean, we said who would you draft at 6? And I'm not sure that there is a huge gap between a guy like maybe Zar Thompson. He's a guy that has a little bit more upside, maybe a ton more upside, but not a ton of certainty that upside will be actually reached. And then to me, there is not much difference between betting on Buffkin and drafting a guy like Grady Dick.
I agree.
So it might be that Grady Dick is just the next coming of Klay Thompson. It can be. And after a few years, all these stakes are just stupid. But as of today, I don't see a ton of difference in terms of betting on a guy like Hendricks or Jarvis Walker, and saying, okay, the value for me to grab one of those guys instead of Buffkin is maybe a middling first round pick, which they have, but not a guy like Dort.
Yeah,
Dort can come. Sorry, and then I'll shut myself. Dort may average. For what we know, Dort can be closer to what we saw in the play-in than in the rest of the regular season, with less shots and more space.
Yeah, I mean,
and if that happens, that is a borderline all-star. And you don't trade 12 and a borderline all-star to grab maybe someone that can be a borderline all-star.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just think you don't want to do anything drastic with this squad until you have more information, And the thing is, like, Presti and them have like their threshold with all of these picks and all the players and like what they want and who they want to get. And if maybe they project somebody like Asar Thompson as like a superstar. Like, listen, like, this guy could be one of the 3 best players on our team. Then you throw Dort and 12 and maybe a future pick at the Magic, and say, hey, listen, like, we value this pick tremendously, and maybe the Magic don't as much. Like, that's a moment where things can get interesting. Is if there's somebody in that range. Maybe it is Jarvis Walker. They're like, hey, like, we need a 4 that is a beefcake that can do lots of different things with the basketball and is a defensive nightmare. Like, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy that we want to target. I'm not saying that I agree with what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just making the case. I'm just making the case for
I know.
Why they would make a deal like that. And it's just more likely than not that those deals just don't get done. It's hard to get a team inside the top 8 to part with that pick unless it's like ownership mandate. I could see the Pistons moving their pick just because, boy, this is going to be year 5 of being bad, and the fan base can't stomach it. They haven't won a playoff game in like 15 years. Like, nobody can stomach this anymore. Like, this has got to end. We got to bring in players now that can help. Like, we can't draft Amen Thompson or Asar Thompson or Cam Whitmore or Anthony Black or Jarvis Walker and count on them to help us next year. Whereas the Thunder are like, hey, listen, we have had a whole mountain of success that we can still see in our rearview mirror, and we can wait a little bit longer to get there. And maybe I do think that there is definitely, and I'm not saying that they would trade Dort. I'm not saying that they would trade Kenrich. I think that both of those are actually pretty unlikely. However, if there is a time to take a step back, you could argue that now would be the time. Where it's
but
this is where Chet's coming in, all these guys are coming in, still very young. The time to do it. Like, you could definitely make that argument.
Yeah, you can. And you can also make the argument there are teams like Washington and the Mavs that, especially the Mavs, they might need more picks.
Yeah.
To saying, okay, can you give me an extra pick if I get you to 10, because for some reason you like a lot Anthony Black. Anthony Black is there.
Yeah.
We know that the Magic will likely grab him. So do you want to give me, I don't know, an extra for some pick to do that? I think that these trades are there. Maybe also Washington, even if I think that they will gladly take credit. They can have another version of the shooters that they have already, and like, I don't know, something like that. But maybe they will ask for 2 picks to move from 12 to 8. And if OKC loves who's at 8, and they are sure that the Utah Jazz, for example, are going to grab that player, may it be Anthony Black, Taylor Hendricks, Osar Thompson. Maybe Osar Thompson slides because, sorry, at number 6, Cam Whitmore goes. And at number 7, the Pacers pick Anthony Black. And you have Osar Thompson there. And you know that Utah will pick him. And you just call the Wizards and say, okay, how many picks do you want together with 12?
Yeah.
To give me that 8th pick. That is something that can happen. And I think that, again, if the player that Presti has superstar grade on is there at 8, and there is a trade that involves assets, he will do that.
Yeah.
If the price is even a little bit more expensive. Again, this can happen, and it's real possibility, because like when you have a flat draft, which is the case after 4 or 5 in this draft, you can move around, and it's not that hard to do.
Yeah. So the question becomes, will the Thunder use all 4 of their picks next year if all 4 convey? And there's a actually pretty likely circumstance where all 4 convey. So they have the Clippers unprotected pick that's conveying next season, no matter what. They will get whatever the pick is, and who knows what that could be with the Clippers. I mean, this year it would have been. Wait, am I looking at the right one?
17, 16. No,
20.
It's 20. Yeah,
20, and that's like best case scenario. It was 12 last year. That's how they got J-Dub. Was that it was 12. They have a top 4 protected Rockets pick, which is talked about all the time, all the time. And they are going to make moves to get better, which means this pick is likely to convey somewhere between 5 and probably 14.
Yeah.
Depending on what they do. And if James Harden really is coming back, I mean, that pick is going to convey. And it's probably a lottery pick. Just because James Harden, I just don't see him dragging that Rockets team to the playoffs / play-in. Well, it'd have to be the playoffs in order for it to not be a lottery pick. So that's another lottery pick. And then the top 10 protected Jazz pick, which Tony Jones has said, I don't see any circumstances whatsoever where the Jazz are inside the top 10 of the lottery of next year.
Yeah, I love Tony Jones, but I don't see any way anything can happen. They can lose Markkanen for 40 games. And if that is the case, I mean, they will be there. I believe, and we saw it this year, where they had all the incentives to really tank.
Yeah.
And to say to Laurie after 5 games of this crazy one, oh, no, you are hurt. You're really hurt.
Or you just trade him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they didn't do it. So I understand where Tony's ideas come from. And I believe in this team being better.
Yeah.
But they were 9th. And after an insane season from Laurie, which if it doesn't happen, I think that there is a legit chance that they are there. So it's likely that it would be the pick that is close to where it was this year, give it or take, which it can either convey or not, depending on where they are. And I think that they have a chance to be where the Thunder was this season. So
yeah, definitely do. So I think there's a good chance that they have 4 picks in next year's draft. And so really back to my point is, are the Thunder going to choose 4 guys in next year's draft? They're not going to have the roster spots.
No.
And so do they use 1 or 2 of these picks in order to move up. Their own pick is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could use their own and the Jazz pick and their 12th pick, and that could get you somewhere pretty quick. Because picks that convey like right away for teams, like they're going to hold some value, especially like any of those 3 picks, Clippers, Rockets, or Jazz. Like, man, you can talk yourself into all 3 of those things being quite a bit of value. And then if you're the Thunder, man, like you have the chance to add somebody pretty significant to this team. And I don't know what the Thunder think of next year's draft. I know a lot of people think that it's weak. I don't know enough about it to be able to say whether it is or not.
Hey, maybe they want to use 4 picks to just grab Jalen Williams' brother, and that's the only goal. Is it the Bronny draft?
It could be if he's one and done.
Yeah, there you go. Bronny and whatever.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I don't know what
that's the plan. That's the full plan.
Yeah, I
draft
don't know.
Bronny.
I mean, they also have this Sixers pick that is top 6 protected in 2025, top 4 protected in 2026, top 4 protected in 2027. That is a little interesting with how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
Are we 100% sure that Joel Embiid is going to be with that team in 2025, 2026? Like, are we 100% sure?
No. But see, back to my point. I mean, that is why the Sixers can't move. Would you be completely surprised if, giving the chance to be really good next year, they negotiate, hey, let's remove the protection entirely? Next year is a bad draft. We need that pick to be away so that we can actually trade something. Because if they
unprotected in 25.
Oh, it's in 25. Okay.
That's 25. Yeah, not 24.
Do they have the 24 available?
Do they what?
The 2024 available to them.
The Sixers, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're president, you don't do it. You don't trade a possibility to move 2025 for But anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see. They have options to do whatever.
Yes.
And if I have to bet today, Dort will not be moved in this draft or in the next 24 months for OKC because of the things that we said.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that they're more likely to just move additional draft capital.
Yeah.
They also have they have a Nuggets pick, a 2027 Nuggets pick.
Mm-hmm.
That still, honestly, I mean, it's 2023. We don't know what the Nuggets are going to look like in 27. But that's another one that could be traded, that has light protections on it, that could have some value to somebody where you can still just hold out the mystery box of like, hey, you never know. You never know what could happen with any team down the road. I mean, when Paul George re-signed with the Thunder, no one would have projected like this is what would have happened to the team, in
5 years.
In like 5 years' time. It's happened really fast where it's like who's on the Thunder? What's going on? Yeah. So it's
Charlie Brown is on the roster.
Charlie Brown Jr. Boy, those were not the days. Those were not the days that you want to live.
Days of the Kawasakis.
Yeah, that's not it. This current team, these are the days where I am so intrigued to see what the Thunder do at the draft this year. So intrigued because they do have a lot of options, and I think there's value at 12 as well. I don't think that there's a ton of value in taking the 12th pick and an asset and jumping up to grab a particular player unless that guy is just perfect for what they want. And I know
I would actually see if Osar is there, that could be something that you do.
Yeah. They do not have a 6'7", 6'8" wing that can kind of do everything that they want to do, that has the athleticism and the ability to defend like Asar does with a guy that size. And so that would be something they don't have. And he would fit the mold, shoot, kind of, pass,
Pass and dribble. Defend, pass and dribble.
Pass, dribble, defend, work in progress as a shooter. That's where you know, I don't know. I think it's very, very interesting for him as well as a trade up candidate. But I think the same for Anthony Black. I think that he's an interesting trade up candidate. Yeah, I'm intrigued by some players in this draft, but they're all flawed in a very distinct way. That I don't know what they'll do. I don't know what the Thunder would do or what they think of these guys. I think that the draft order, I think if you pulled all 30 teams on their draft order from 1 to 10, you would see 30 different combinations. You know.
Yeah. Or I'm not sure. Maybe they all have Buffkin as the number 12 pick, and we will be great.
Everybody knows how we feel about Buffkin. I would be all in on Kobe Buffkin wearing a Thunder jersey. That'd be amazing. Okay. Anything else before we go? Celtics are just dying. They're just like dying on national television right now.
Yeah, I've watched last night's game. What a beauty. The Heat just demolished them. They were playing with force. Boston didn't. And I mean, that is the value of having guys that knows how to play, but they can shoot.
Yeah.
Because the space was there. I mean, they could just, there were moments where, I mean, it's all creation from the dribble, and you can see the thinking of a coaching staff like the one that OKC has. Hey, we need that. And I mean, you can say that besides Jimmy and maybe Bam, OKC has much better players in as projection, at least.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to be able to space the court, and that will be there for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
And he also played so hard. And Spo is just, I mean, I think that the reason why the Heat can transform so well is basically just Spo, and the way in which he and his staff, of course, prepare for it. Just serious. They are perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they really are. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're going to have to do to keep their team together. We were kind of texting about it this morning. Would you take on Duncan Robinson to get the 18th pick in this year's draft?
Like, I get Duncan and the 18th pick.
Yeah, you take, I mean, he's got 3 years left at like a lot.
I know that I'm a fan of these kind of moves. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's a bit too much in terms of money.
It is. It eats up quite a bit of your cap. Let me pull it up. I had it up, pulled it up earlier, but it's just a year too long for me.
Yeah.
But like Duncan Robinson would actually be awesome in Mark Dagnall's system.
Oh yeah,
he'd be amazing with Mark.
Yes.
I think he would look like he did early on with the Heat, like his second and third year with the Heat, where he's just like lights out. I think that that's what he would look like with this team. And
yeah, but then just draft Gray. They can be okay with it.
But you get older Grady Dick and pick 18. So he's next season he's 18 million. 19 million in 24-25. Then he has a player option for almost 20 million.
Yeah, which he will never turn down.
Oh,
but it also depends on, hey, how can you use Duncan Robinson? Because if he suddenly scores 18 points per game on 65% effective field goal, then who cares about the money? He will find a place for a 1-year rental anywhere. You just have to be sure that you draft him, that you pick him, and you basically extract value. I mean, I think that Dennis had the same kind of structure in his contract, and he actually took his player option and got traded.
Yeah,
or something like this.
But it's two more. But it's next year and the year after, and then the player option.
Yeah, but Gideon's max comes in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So until then,
I mean, you have to send a player back too, most likely, just because you're gonna have to settle this, and you have to trade something to them, which can be as little as cash considerations or whatever.
Treyman.
Yeah, that's who I floated in the chat with the text group earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Trey makes some sense to give them. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting one.
Or you don't do anything so that they struggle in keeping this team together, and you have their pick.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Yeah. No, I think that's an interesting one because it's like, how are the Thunder going to use their cap space? Well, it's going to be something closer to this than it is like drawing in some kind of free agent.
Yeah.
And the Heat need some cap flexibility.
Yeah, they do.
They're going to need it because if they want to keep Gabe Vincent, which after this run, it's like, why wouldn't you keep Gabe Vincent? Especially over Duncan, who has not been in the rotation. He's played well last night, but has not been in the rotation for the Heat this entire playoff run. You're going to have to make some choices. Max Strus as well. Max has been in the rotation this whole time, and he needs to get paid. And so, Lowry on a big contract next year, you probably want to keep him as well. What are they going to do? They need to find some relief somewhere. And so I think they'll be calling about Duncan. I don't know if it's Duncan in the 18. That's just all hypothetical, but it's going to cost something, an asset like that in order for this to work.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
On that contract, and 18 may not even be enough, honestly, to take on a deal like that. But I think it's an interesting hypothetical deal where I think Duncan helps the Thunder quite a bit next year, just because I think he's the exact kind of player that Mark would know how to use, that could play off of Shea and Giddey and J-Dub and Chet. I think that's right.
Wow.
Who do you get at 18? Says Daniel Zanolini. Gigi? Heck no.
No.
Any sort of Gigi Jackson propaganda that's happening out there with the Thunder, you can just go ahead and take it and just dunk it in the garbage. Duncan Robinson that thing in the garbage. The thing is, there just ain't no way they would take Gigi Jackson. No way, no how. At 18,
Rupert.
Rayon Rupert is definitely somebody that I would think about. And
Hawkins, if he's there.
If Hawkins is there, that would be great for Michele.
I know that the Thunder were at his workout. It would be very bad if they weren't.
It would
be. They need to draft to scout everyone.
I was going to say, let me get on
details.
Let me get on my soapbox for just a second with all of this. Hey, the Thunder talked to so and so. Oh man, did you hear they talked to so and so? The Thunder are going to talk to everybody. So don't think that it means something. It actually would mean a whole lot more if the Thunder decided not to talk to them.
Yeah.
If they just decided it would be a waste of our time and resources not to talk to them, which is probably not going to happen with anybody in the top 100. They're going to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
They want to not just for the draft, but to put together a profile for them for years ahead. They really wanted to get Victor Oladipo in the draft, that Steven Adams year of the draft, 2013. They wanted him. Couldn't get him that night. Had the file of hey, we've talked to him, we've interviewed him, we love this player. We want him to wear a Thunder jersey.
Yeah.
Just can't be tonight. And so they kept it. And then they end up trading for him down the road.
Yeah, and
those are the kind of things that they're always. Look, Kenrich Williams was another one where the Thunder had a profile on Kenrich during the draft time. He ended up not getting drafted, but they really liked him during the draft process. And then later on, it's it wasn't a complete surprise when Kenrich got to Oklahoma City that we like this guy. They already liked him.
Yeah.
We already
And with
liked him as a
Gigi,
person.
especially, I mean, suppose that the first level of scouting says, okay, this is not really a Thunder guy. Um, um, he's not mature enough, whatever.
Yeah.
He was checked out with his team.
Yeah.
And that may be, hey, he was checked out. This is not a Thunder guy.
Yeah.
If this is how OKC runs business, I mean, this is not, because they are way more in depth, in detail. I mean, they would know why he was checked out. Let's see how he, like the body language when he does a training in front of people, what he thinks about us. Like all these stuff are extremely important. Like I would be extremely surprised if OKC just decides in March, hey, that guy, not for us. It may happen. But I mean, saying that OKC was at theirs workout, it's just okay. They should be there.
Yeah, they're gonna
Like,
be there. Yeah, they take this stuff really seriously
yeah,
and want to do. They're gonna do their homework on everybody. They're gonna lift up every rock and see what's underneath it for every single draft prospect. Like that's
hey,
what's going to happen.
and it's also narrative in these times. Whoever you are actually going to draft, who's higher on your board, this is an information that you don't need to let out.
Yeah.
Gigi may go between 10 and 25.
Yeah.
Suppose that someone thinks that this is the guy that OKC wants. They may leverage. They may do something.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
like being deceptive in this process is also part of the process. Like everybody was having a book night as the Thunder guy.
I bet they were laughing so hard
So hard.
about the way
And
we were talking about book night to OKC.
yeah, suppose that Toronto or someone got an offer for Giddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, suppose that the Golden State is 100% convinced that Giddy is their guy. They may offer Weissman and 7 to go at 4.
Yeah.
If they are convinced, sure, that this is Giddy, this is OKC's guy.
Yeah.
And if they have the doubt, they say, man, if we go that route and they pick book night for real, we are desperate. Like, so it's also important to mixing up and to give like different info so that nobody really knows what you want to do.
Yeah. The reported info on OKC, I can tell you for the most part, there's been some stuff that's good. Most of it's
Payne was good.
Most of it's bad. Yeah, Payne was good. I mean, Lee Ellis had Josh Giddey going to OKC the day before the draft, or maybe that was the morning of the draft.
He was very close to the draft.
So that was good, but a lot of other stuff not so great. You just don't get that much stuff because no one really talks, and that's purposeful and and it's good for the team. It's good for the team to not have stuff reported. During this time, and then you can find out things later. Wendy had it, but a lot of people knew about J-Dub being their main target. That was the guy that they were really targeting. So yeah, it's a fascinating time of year. And right now we're just playing guessing games, but the Thunder have enough history now between the start of this new era and now that we know the kind of people and the kind of players that they want to draft. There's a particular kind of person that they bring in, that they draft. It's Gigi Jackson does not check those boxes with personality, with play style, with any of it. The only thing, he's got long arms. He's super duper duper young. He's athletic. He can kind of get his own bucket. He's got all those things. I'm describing a player that plays on the Houston Rockets. I'm not describing a player that plays on the Thunder. There's not one player that matches that profile on the Thunder right now.
And they can zag, but until they do, we'll try to use it.
I think they will zag, but not for a guy in the teens. I think it would have to be somebody's at the top of the draft, and it's boy, this guy's going to change the league, but he is the worst. And then you have to just be prepare yourselves, Mark, Degnault, and crew, because this guy that's going to change the league is coming in. He's going to wreck shop, but he's going to be worth it. Gigi Jackson, not going to be worth it to wrangle that guy. Nope, not it. But if it's somebody that you're like, man, he'll change the league, but he's going to make things really difficult for a long time. It's like, all right, here we go. Let's test the culture. Let's see how it goes. All right. I could talk forever. We'll stop there. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for listening to our show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hey, if you're listening right now, hit the like button below. That helps our videos somehow within this YouTube algorithm. I don't know how. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're so close to 4,000 subscribers. Just get us there, please. If you're not subscribed, go there right now if you're listening on the podcast app and just subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch live. You can watch afterwards. If you just want to watch two guys talking hoops, you can do that. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.